Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I color one of my drawings with color pencils. I thought I would do a video on this subject because it's a question that I get asked a lot. How do I pick my colors when I do drawings with color pencils? How do I come to those decisions and get that look? So I guess I will try to explain as best as I can, but know that a lot of the decisions I make are just coming from like my brain and the fact that I've been doing this for a while and I make choices based on what I like. And so your choices are going to be different than mine, but I can tell you the approach that I take to get to the places that I'm at so that hopefully it can help you in knowing what those decisions are so that you can kind of just think on that and have that information. I don't really know where I'm going with that. But this is where we're at so far. You'll recognize this video from last week, and here's some more colorful drawings. And I decided to leave this one for its own video so that I can show you a good example of what I do. It's a tree and a little gnome giving the finger. So first things first, I'm going to show you what I'm using. Of course, if you know me, you've seen this many times before. This is my color pencil set of 50 pastel color pencils from Holbein. I'm obsessed with it. I use it all the time. It's the best gift one of the best gifts I've ever got, I would say. My husband bought it for me for Christmas last year, and it was a very thoughtful gift, and I love it. And I love him, okay? So if you aren't very familiar with your color pencils, I would definitely suggest to give yourself a little swatch page and take the time to do that, because this is going to get a little complicated and it's definitely good to have something to look on so you don't have to keep swatching them. But do whatever you want. That's just something I like to do. Oh, and I forgot to say that I lay them on this towel with the edges. I tuck in the edges so that they don't fall off my table, and that's how I lay them. Okay, this is a new development. I just started doing this and I've found that this works very well, so I will continue to do this. And guess who I saw do this? Chris Hong, obviously. So to start, I'm gonna pick a color that is a tree-like color, but is very light. So I'm gonna pick from the pastels. I think that this one will be perfect. Cork. It's kind of sandy. It's not too pink like this one. It's not too yellow, not too green. I just want a really neutral color to start, I think. That's the best way, especially if I don't really know what I'm doing yet. Start with something light and kind of like the local color, like it's just a brownish sort of color. I'm going very, very lightly. I'm trying to be really light-handed with it because I know that I'm gonna layer a bunch of stuff on top. And I put this shine on the rest of some of the items, and I'm wondering now if I should put that on this tree, but I don't know if it really makes sense, so I think it's okay. Maybe I'll just put a little bit of a shine, so I'll just start to do it a bit more heavy-handed in some of the areas. I want the light to be going like this. Obviously you can see a shadow going that way, so naturally that's where the light's gonna be. So I will keep that in my head very strongly about where the light is. That helps a lot. But I'm not thinking too hard about it, and I'm not at this point going too crazy with it. And again, it helps that I've done the line work too. So really the shape and everything is done. And these pencils are really easy to erase as well. So are Prismacolor ones if that's what you're using. So don't worry too much about it. That's what's so fun about color pencils. I absolutely love them. They really relax me and I just have so much fun using them. It's kind of like, I kind of think of them like paint. I don't know why, but that's the conclusion that I've come to. Okay, now that I've gone over this whole tree area with the cork color, I'm going to just go over the gnome a little bit here and there where I can, because this whole drawing is, I want it to be unified. I know I say that all the time, but I truly do want it to be unified, and there's not really anything else I can say about that. A lot of the time I'm just doing this stuff as I go. I'm just thinking about it, you know, from the top of the dome. So I don't always have like an exact answer. Sometimes it just comes out of my brain. But I'm trying to like explain it as well as I can. Another thing I think about while I'm doing this is now that I've done the first layer, I've got my local color in. Do I want it to be very, very colorful, like a really rainbowy thing, like how this wizard is really rainbowy, the bat is rainbowy, or do I want it to be more like this frog, where you can generally see that it's just sort of a green frog, or the pumpkin is just orange? So what do I want more? Do I want to bring out the natural colors or like make it have a more natural look, or do I want it to be like a full-on rainbow? For the tree, because it's a tree and I like them to be natural, I want to put some slight colors in here, maybe a touch of neon, but my plan right now is not to make it full rainbow, just to add some subtle, more lower saturated colors. So that's what I'm going to choose now. So let's see what kind of color is around the cork color. Is this, what's this? Ash rose, that's nice. There's also this cool one that's sea fog. I really, really like this color, just generally to use. I could also use rose pink. And if I want to go even warmer, I could do coral. I think I want to see where coral goes. Just because it's like not too warm, not too cool. This is just one of the first layers, so it doesn't really matter. And where I'm gonna start, the first couple passes, I focus on the shadows. The shadows are the most forgiving because I'm just gonna keep layering on top of them. And if I didn't really particularly like the layer before, it's not that I didn't like it, but if I don't want that to be the final one, you could just layer on top. But if it's the part where you wanna mostly keep it like a highlight area, that's gonna be pretty hard to fix, you know? Yeah, I like it. I like the cork and this coral color together. So now I'm just going to put a little bit again into this guy. I love the middle finger. What an excellent gesture. Yeah. I really want a bluish accent color. I don't think I've ever used this color before. Smoke blue. Good Lord. Smoke blue. I don't think I've ever used this color before, but I think it will be a nice shadowy kind of color. Let's give it a try. I'm not ready to go into the dark colors yet. I think this looks nice with the pink. Have you ever seen the movie Death Becomes Her? It's truly one of my faves. Yeah, this is a good layer. And again, because I'm not sure yet, I'm making sure I don't go over these really, really light areas quite yet. I'm not sure what I want to do with them, so they're not getting touched. I'm not going to put this blue color in the gnome because the gnome is going to be too warm. In my head, the gnome is wearing a nice warm kind of sweater, like warm color, I mean. So, and I'm now more focusing the blue into shadowy areas. I don't know if I didn't say that before, but I'm not trying to go really on this side where the light will shine with any kind of cool toned color at this moment in time. So I'm going to leave the cool tones because I want it to be a more natural look rather than super rainbowy. I'm leaving the cool tones on one side. The side that's in the most shadow. And if I'm honest, you're probably not going to see that much of this blue come through at the end. I don't know, because this is like a starting layer. I feel that there's not enough brown in it now, so I'm going to look for a more just neutral color that I can use. And this is the lightest neutral-ish one. By neutral, I mean like brown, you know? Nothing too bright or crazy. This one's nice too, just brown, but maybe we'll come back to it after. This one is called Cinnamon. So, what does this one look like? Yeah, sure. Gonna do a more liberal pass of this one. Yeah, going heavy-handed is never gonna help you with this kind of thing. So you need like the ability to layer. How do I explain what I'm gonna be trying to explain right here? Okay, so there are areas in a shadow. When a shadow is made, there's cool on the inside. Hold up. Okay, so there are areas in shadows, I'm just going to use this little area as an example, that are cool and like the center of the shadow. This is how I'm thinking about it in my brain. I'm not telling you like a scientific fact. And I'm going with that with the blue. That was the blue part. This is a higher saturated color. It's a mid-tone color. It's a little darker, but it's higher saturated. I'm going to go really lightly around the edge of the shadow. And that's going because when the sun hits something, there's like a line of light around it and then the shadow. I don't know why. And I'm not even saying this tree is in the shadow, but that's just what I always do with shadows. And I'm just trying to like find a way to explain that properly. So I pick a highly saturated color to sort of outline the shadow with. Then the inside of the shadow is dark on that edge. I'm going right now in with this amethyst color, darker purple. I'm going to go like that. Then there's the side of the shadow right here that's going to have the light bounce, the shadow bounce. Oh my God, I never know what it's called, and I hate saying it because I hate saying it. Reflected light is what it's called. Okay? I remembered it. So I like to use this icy blue color. So that's going to be the reflected light. So that's how I think about that. Hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to do the rest now where I take the, just going to take this and kind of do a liberal layer, and wherever I see a blue shadow that I know I want to keep there, I'm going to go a little bit more firm-handed on that area. Because I'm outlining I'm going along the edge of where that blue would be. And when it's in the middle of the shadow, this is the shadowiest shadow. This is the lightest. When it's in the middle of this area, just how I was telling you about outlining that blue part and outlining the shadows, I'm kind of doing that in general with the whole object too. So this middle part is going to be the most sort of saturated, true color of the tree sort of thing, because you're just looking at, in this instance, just looking at the color of the tree in that lighting. Does that make sense? I really hope it does. I'm trying really hard to convey like how I think about these things in my head so that you get a good idea, because I know it's like a really frequently asked question. So I really want to answer it, but it's also hard to answer because the way that the colors that I pick are just like an artistic choice for me. I'm just picking them because maybe I like that color specifically that week. Maybe I'm really into that color, you know? But the reason that I'm choosing that specific tone of a purple or a blue, or like the reason why I'm picking them is always going to be the same. It's because of the lightness, darkness, and the saturation of it. Now I'm going to sharpen this pencil, and this is what I'm using. Instead of my long point sharpener, I'm using this little jar with this short point. It's special for color pencils, I guess. Same company makes it, but it's really bad at holding the shaving, so I just keep it on this little jar. Now I'm going to use the ice green color to do some reflected light, because I think that's where I'm starting to get an idea of where I want the shadows more solidly. So I'm just going to put a little bit of reflected light areas. I kept this area specifically pretty light so far because I think I want it to be kind of glowy in there. And it is getting kind of rainbowy, so I'm getting a little worried about that, but even if it does end up as a rainbowy thing, I don't care. Trying to bring it back to a more neutral kind of place, less rainbow with the brown color again, the cinnamon. Just checking it around. It's not really that. You're essentially just like continuously accentuating shadows more and more until the drawing's done. I really like doing it with the ink though, like doing the ink before so that the lines are really dark. That's pretty fun. And I miss doing ink because I used to do it all the time. So I was really happy to do it again. I definitely think I want to actually continue. The only thing is that I always use a micron pen, and then I always forget that, like, I'm going to go over all these little lines, probably the ones that I want to be darker by the end, and going over pencil with micron pen is an absolute nightmare. It never works. It just clogs the pen tip. So I use a different one. I use this Winsor & Newton one, seems to be pretty good, but you have to use a pretty thick one. Maybe I'll try this other one that I have, see if it doesn't get clogged too once I'm finished. So at this point, I think I got enough in there to start to go over with a bit of a neon color. And I guess I'll start by doing the edge of where the light hits most with the warm neon color. Guess I should get to those mushrooms soon, but I just don't know exactly what color I want them to be yet. I think I want them to be maybe orangey yellow or something. I like that color for mushrooms. Another thing that brings everything together really well, I find, is using the same reflected light color for all of the objects. So I'm going to make sure that the ice blue and the neon orange as well is in every part, like the mushrooms and the gnome too. Not that the neon orange is a reflected light color, but the ice blue is, and I just want to bring the neon orange in, frankly, because I like it. But it's also the kind of highlight color, so I just want to make sure that there's those constants. Something else I'm thinking about right now is that I want the gnome's outfit and the mushrooms to kind of be similar. I think I'm gonna use, yeah, why not? I'm gonna use this color, mahogany. That's gonna be the first layer for the mushrooms and the gnome's outfit. I don't know if this is a good idea, but I'm gonna use this yellowy orangey color for the mushrooms now. Oh, it is a good idea, I like it. I definitely don't want the mushrooms to blend in with the tree. I want them to pop off of the tree. And this is my favorite kind of mushrooms, when there's mushrooms on a tree. Ooh, I just love it. I love orangey red. This color is called vermilion. Gonna do the gnomes, do a little layer on the gnome's outfit. Brighten it up a little bit. I think red little outfits and fairy tale settings just go together really well. If you've seen my Small Hero comic, you will know that that's a trend that I like and go for all the time. I like a little character in a red outfit, especially with a pointy little hat. Okay, so it's 2 days later. I'm back to my drawing here. I've had a little time to look at it, and I think it's still a bit too neon-y, a little bit too light colored for me. I really like the way that these mushrooms are looking, and I love the gnome. And I like the layering that's happened so far, but I want it to be a bit darker. So I'm gonna look on this end because this is where all the dark colors are, and I think I'm gonna go for this chocolate one. What's this one too? What's this one called? Burnt Umber. That seems like that's gonna be good because I want something pretty neutral because it's looking a little too neon. So I'm gonna go pull those two out, kind of neutralize it a little bit in my head. This is what I want to bring it down and a little darker. And then I can go back with more color later if I want to. I'm going to do the burnt umber color first because it's a bit lighter than the chocolate color and I don't want to go too dark right away. But just to show, I'm just trying to show how many layers that this kind of thing takes. And even though I'm going darker and lighter and that seems weird, that's just my process of how I determine the colors. And I like to be safe by starting lighter. And even though it may not seem like, oh, why did you put the, some random color there? That's not really going to come out in the end. It does show through because all the layers are light, and that's how you get that look, is just slowly adding many, many layers. Usually it doesn't take this long because I like to do kind of smaller drawings like this bat. But if it takes a while, then it takes a while. But I recommend starting smaller. But that's how that look is achieved. I don't think you can achieve it any other way than just doing a lot of thin layers of different colors. What do I say? What's the word that I want to say? Trying to accentuate the branch more, frankly. And I might even take a lighter color. And I'll have to make this branch in a similar way as well because this one and this one I feel like this one's popping out even more than this one, so I want to make sure everything is pretty consistent, but I'm being pretty apprehensive about using this darker color right now because this is my first time drawing for today, to be honest, and I am being a little bit didn't warm up kind of deal, And I'll go over these ink shadows once I'm done everything. Now I'm liking it. Now I'm liking that. That's feeling like the darkness that I want. Once I get it to that level of like the darkness and lightness that I want in those areas, once I've built up those colors enough, then I'm like, okay, now I can just do the final touches of adding little pops of color here and there. I can only put darkness through the middle to outline the shadows on this branch. Even that might be a bit too much, but hey, no worries. We can always erase a little bit if I feel like I've gone too far. That's not a problem. I just love color pencils so much. I used to never understand why people would use them. Not that I didn't like the look that people were getting from them. I just didn't. I was like, it feels like it takes so long. I don't get it. I'm like not having fun doing it. And I just didn't understand where people's enjoyment of using them, like why they were picking that. And then I just realized that it just takes a lot of practice to get used to them so that the decisions that you make are like easier and quicker decisions that you can do. And for me, it was just taking me a long time to figure out those answers. And that's why it was taking so long. And I felt like it was a really tedious task. But now I just love the look of it. I think it's so much fun and it's quite fast. And getting this set of color pencils from my husband for Christmas, it was really a big game changer for me because I was just like so jazzed to get them, and it really inspired me to want to do more color pencil. And they're so easy to work with that I realized, okay, this is actually like so fun and I love it. Like if you want to do a bit of urban sketching or whatever, you can just pack color pencils up really and take them wherever you want to go. You can take them on trips with you. They're clean, besides sharpening them and stuff. But I really can't recommend them enough. So doing that has kind of made it look more brown, less neon-y, less rainbowy. That's good. That's what I wanted. So now I'm going to use one of my most favorite colors that I usually always bring in. It's chartreuse green. I just love this color so much. It's kind of these two together forever, besties. Very light. But it's just like it's like perfect for Halloween. I want it to be spooky, like maybe the ground is misty. I don't know. gonna put some green in the hole of the tree, because maybe something crazy's coming out of there, or the tree is like, there's magic in there. Don't want to go too much. I get carried away with this color pretty quickly, so let's just kind of chill. Maybe a bit on the mushrooms I think would be fun. Something in where the mushrooms are back here in the shadows of them, where they turn around the tree. Put a little bit there. Maybe put a bit in here. And again, I want to make this branch pop out from the tree. This one's really important because it's not sticking out, it's within where the tree is, so I really want to kind of make sure that that's known. I have these kind of empty spaces within the roots here, so I guess I'm just going to do this. I didn't particularly want to put much grass. I don't think that's the way I want to go, but I'll put a bit of this, I suppose. Maybe I'll just go like this. I want those guys to be defined. I want them to kind of show the creepiness of the roots. So I don't really want to go into too much about the grass. So I've got this color Amethyst, which I'm finding myself using a lot. It's just the perfect saturation and darkness for these dark areas to kind of add something extra, a little extra color in there. And I personally find that brown and purpley reddish, like a violets kind of colors, go together really well. Like they blend together well and they look cool. I like the look. Something I used to do when I first started trying to do like a look like this is I would go too saturated or too bright colors at right from off the bat, and I think that's what got me so frustrated from doing it at the start. So I would say start really light with lighter colors and don't, worry as much, and just accept that it's going to take a long time. And you can add them more slowly. Start with a local color and just slowly add more and more brighter colors. And you can get braver with the colors as you go on, rather than starting out. That's just something I did that made me frustrated. So I don't know if anybody else is doing that, then maybe start a little bit slower. Yeah, that's cool. I think it's a bit too purpley now, but I don't want it to like be exactly like that is my problem. No, I think it's okay. I'm not going to stress about it too much. So now I'm taking the same burnt umber, one of the browns, and I'm just doing some like kind of lines to get that more barky look. This right here is right there where I was talking about that branch. I want this to be a bit lighter, and I think it layered too much color, so just going to erase a bit. And when I go through with the shadow color, I'll just put that right back in there. The reflected light color, I mean, the blue. I like to do these little lines, like, find it makes it flow. And wherever I want something really dark, I kind of start to press harder now because we're coming to the end of, we're not doing any more too much light layers. So if you really want something to pop, you can go pretty dark around where that item is, like even darker. So it really shows. And yeah, I really like how this area looks. I like how it looks like almost like shiny. That's a personal preference. I just wanted to mention that I'm liking what I'm doing. I just love to imagine an angry gnome. I know it's too early to talk about Christmas, but I'm already thinking about like little Christmas gnomes and them being angry and where they might be living. Maybe I want a little bit in these mushrooms too, I think, because I want them to be a bit darker. Yeah, just in the parts that I really want to make it like more 3D kind of thing. Whoa, not too much. Because to me, doing this part, now we're at the end, I find this so fun. Like the rendering part is just like, oh, I wish you're past like the worrying stage. This is mahogany, it's a more reddish color. I want to put a little bit more red in here. I want it to be a bit warmer. Whoa. You know what sucks about this sketchbook that happened the other day is that my like ribbon thing that separates the pages, or it's like your bookmark, fell off. So that's not good. Thought that little sucker was going to be with me to the end. Wasn't expecting it to fall off. And I really do use it because I'm like, I'm always going for different pages. Sometimes I'm doing sketching page that day. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm working on a video on one of the things. So I like to use the bookmark. Duh, that's why it's there. People use them. So I'm going to try to find some appropriate glue and try to get it back on. Oh, what an unimportant thing I've just told you. Sorry. Yeah, I do like this mahogany color, but you couldn't use this as a brown, or in this case, I wouldn't have. I like it as just an addition. Needed a more neutral brown, less saturated to start. Okay, so now see these areas that are really, really dark? I'm gonna try to go back with the reflected light color and put this, just kind of put it wherever, not too much, don't go crazy. I go overboard with the reflected light stuff. Sometimes I find, I like it, I still like that. But I don't wanna, in this particular case, go too crazy with it because I want it to not be so neon, and I worked pretty hard to just get, I did all that stuff to get it back from too neon, so. Went over this part wherever it was light. Yeah, and these colored pencils layer really well. So do Prismacolor and other ones too, so don't think you have to go out and get these fancy Holbein ones if you don't want to. Don't worry too much about that. Because I have used Prismacolor, do the same thing, same kind of thing. Faber-Castell is good, but they don't have as bright and saturated colors, I find. It's not quite, I would say Prismacolor is probably a little bit better for something like this. Faber-Castell is really good for other stuff, sketching. Like they do have really nice colors too. It's just for this particular thing, I like neon colors. That's what we're working with. That's a bit much there. Erase. Yeah, there we go. So we did a bit there. This is like lacking in detail for me, but I also don't want to have too much detail everywhere. Yeah, just a little something like that here and there I think is quite enough. Yeah. So now that I've done everything else, I'm just going to go over my little guy. This is a grayish purple color. I really like it. I'm going to do the beard. Oop. Let's do this. Really just putting a little color on his face. There's really, we can't see much. That'll come out, that's kind of like where the ink lines come out, how those are useful for drawings like this, because the black is going to have to do the work for us rather than all the colors and all that, just because it's so tiny. Better to keep it simple is what I'm trying to say. I definitely want this to be yellow. I'll put a little bit of yellow in here too. Okay, so you can kind of see that the ink lines are not very visible anymore, not as dark as they were. So I'm just gonna go over everything with my pen and redarken it. I'm gonna use this Winsor & Newton one because it just stands up well against the color pencil on the paper. And I'll come back and show you when it's done when I add the white highlights. So now I'm going to use this white Faber-Castell pen to just try and do some highlights. We'll see. It's sometimes tricky over the color pencil. Sometimes I just erase because it ends up looking brighter than... I don't need to do too much either, so just a bit. Whoa, that was too much. Another thing I was thinking about while I just finished all of the going over the ink. Once again, just touched up the line work a little bit. Another thing I was thinking about is that if you do something like this, just remember if there's like a big patch of ink or really ink anywhere that you've just gone over, you need to give it a bit more time to dry, because if you wipe your hand on that, it's not soaking into the paper very fast because it's really not, it has to sit on top. So it just has to dry on top of the pencil, which is sometimes wax, sometimes other stuff, but it's not soaking into the paper. So that's going to be something that it will be wet for a while is just, sorry, what I'm trying to say. So if you rub your hand on that, just be very careful because you could get really upset and it could ruin everything. So here is the end result of our drawing. And I hope you liked this video and you got something out of it. And if you have any questions for me, just let me know. Happy to try and answer to the best of my ability. Okay? And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!